Welcome to voice print identification. When you see the red light go on, would you please state in the following order your destination, your nationality, and your full name?
Moon, American, Floyd, Haywood R.
Thank you. You are cleared through voice print identification.
I think we can all agree that some movies, especially space movies, go so far beyond what is realistically possible that they suspend belief. But as the majority of us have not been in outer space, it is, at times, hard to know what is fact and what is fiction. Which is where our real-life astronauts come in. Chris Hadfield is a Canadian retired astronaut, engineer, and former Royal Canadian Air Force fighter pilot. He was the first Canadian to walk in space, has flown 2 space shuttle missions, and served as commander of the International Space Station. Garrett Reisman, an American engineer and former NASA astronaut, was a backup crew member for Expedition 15 and joined Expedition 16 aboard the International Space Station for a short time before becoming a member of Expedition 17. Nicole Stott is also an American engineer and a retired NASA astronaut. She served as a flight engineer on ICE Expedition 20 and Expedition 21 and was a mission specialist on STS-128 and STS-133. Number 5. First Man 2018. Before astronauts become astronauts, they usually have some other technical career. Often, they start out as test pilots, as was the case with Neil Armstrong and his fellow crew members. In the movie, Armstrong is seen flying an
We've chosen a job so difficult.
15. Nothing wrong with that. The representation, though, is flawed. According to Hadfield, an X-15's vibrations would be so minute as to be imperceptible. If your aircraft is rattling to the extent this one is, there's got to be something wrong. And then somehow, for some unknowable reason, it all suddenly goes dead quiet. Where did all that sound disappear to? Even the sky as seen through the aircraft's windows is all wrong. In real life, the higher you go, the darker it gets. In the movie,
what kind of thoughts do you have about that?
We're planning on the flight being successful.
the color of the sky goes from sky blue to light blue and then suddenly goes to black. But the most disappointing thing about the movie, Hadfield says, is the glum atmosphere and lack of joy around the mission. Being an astronaut is a great adventure, and although the members of the crew are all aware of the seriousness and potential dangers of the situation, they are also awed and overjoyed at the mere possibility of being in outer space.
There are risks, but we have every intention of coming back.
Somebody got a Swiss Army knife?
Swiss Army knife? Are you kidding me?
Number 4 Passengers, 2016. How do you create gravity if there's no planet around? According to our experts, spinning the spacecraft you're traveling in will create a gravity-like pseudo-force, centrifugal force, to be exact. Much like the washing machine rides at amusement parks, the spinning affects a force that pushes objects, including people, against the outer edges of the vehicle. The swimming pool scene in Passengers is a great visual representation of what would happen to water once the ship has stopped spinning and the centrifugal force has therefore gone. Not that that is likely to happen, according to Hadfield. It would take a great external force, or brakes, to stop the motion of such a huge vehicle in outer space. The other hiccup here is that the force would not magically reappear and send everything crashing down like in the movie. To get such a massive metal structure spinning again would take considerable time and effort, but what happens when the globules of water amass in a big blob is very realistic, and exactly what happens to droplets of water in the International Space Station. Even tears, according to Stott.
You're gonna say, this is it. This is how I end.
Commander, Mark is dead.
We have to go.
The Martian, 2015. Reisman rates this movie at a 9, because other than the idea that puncturing the glove of your spacesuit will cause it to act like a jetpack and propel you around space like Iron Man, the movie is pretty accurate. Hadfield disagrees. According to him, there are several scientific misnomers. For one, Matt Damon's character, Mark Watney, would not be quite as buff as he is in the movie. The red planet's gravity is only about 38% of the Earth's. Mark would therefore only weigh about 1/3 of his portrayed weight. The atmosphere is also incredibly thin on Mars. You would have to climb Everest 4 times to get to the height where the air is equally as thin on Earth. And when you know that, many of the scenes outside the spaceship become problematic, the idea behind Watney growing his own crop of potatoes on Mars is not far from the truth though. All he needs is nutrient-rich soil, which he recreates using his own excrement, together with heat, water, and oxygen. And these can be created with relatively simple chemical reactions using the spaceship's supplies, something every astronaut is thoroughly trained in. Number 2, 2001, A Space Odyssey, 1968. Reisman and Hadfield both really love this movie, and even the science holds up really well. In short, the movie is beautifully, artistically and quite realistically portrayed. When Hadfield returned from his first ever spacewalk, he had no words to explain to his wife what he had seen, other than it's exactly as they imagined in the movie. Quite a feat considering the film was made before man even landed on the moon. The movie also makes use of the idea of creating centrifugal force to simulate gravity by rotating the International Space Station. And, according to Reisman, they even got the speed right, about 1.5 RPM, which will result in around 1/2 g, more or less half the gravity you will feel on Earth. Enough to keep the passengers and other objects more or less in place. Number 1, Apollo 13, 1995. Apollo 13 tells the story of astronauts Lovell, Hayes and Swigert, who, during the Apollo 13 moon mission, find themselves stranded when their spacecraft gets damaged. Several master alarms sound and the astronauts realize, "Houston, we have a problem." Hadfield himself has used the famous line on a few occasions and says that it truly is the most impactful sentence imaginable. Everyone who hears it immediately stops what they're doing and pays attention to what the commander is going to say next. This docudrama beautifully portrays the process of problem solving that happens on a daily basis in spaceflight. Not as dramatically, thankfully, but the principle is the same. According to our experts, director Ron Howard went to great lengths to ensure the accuracy of what is shown in the movie. Even the dialogue during the intense scenes is practically a carbon copy of NASA's transcripts. Reisman even goes so far as to say that it's as close to a documentary as the director could get without hauling all his equipment into outer space.